There you go. Hello, everyone. Hello, my fellow Liberians. Hello, Liberians around the world. Hello, everyone. United States, everyone that will watch us later. Let me just say hello to you. Today is a beautiful day in the great country of the United States. Um, Liberia is flying her flag very high. All right. There's a young man over here. You can see him, Thomas Sabo, whose father was a soccer player. He lost his father, and his mother had to literally, just work hard to support her children. And her son has made it into the NBA. So, as a community, we want to say congratulations to her, congratulations to him for, carrying the Liberian flag. Although his mother has a story, now he can wipe his mother's tear. So I just want to play just a touch of this. Again, we have no copyright to this video. It's just to acknowledge and congratulate Thomas. All right, there you go. This is Thomas. There he is. We're gonna stop right there, Peter, and I'm gonna bring Peter in. Peter is a coach. For he have coached at the college level, at high school level, and he understands where these kids, the discipline that these kids have to go through to make it. You can have talent, but you must be disciplined. So he can talk to it briefly, and then we're gonna merge over or veered over to nations building as we have been doing. Peter, good evening.
Hello, yes, Cindy. It's always good to be here
Same
to
here.
have this conversation with you. You can hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. Same
Okay.
here, Peter. Same
Yes,
here.
always good to be here to have this conversation about us as a people, our country, our children, the future, where we're headed, where we are, where we're headed, what we think should be happening. Just to add our voice to the conversation of all the talking heads on these various shows and broadcasting. You talk about that kid Thomas. First of all, congratulations to Thomas and his family. It's a very big deal. Not just the financial windfall that his family has gotten because he made it to the NBA, to a professional level, especially to be a lottery pick. That's a big deal. But also the fact that he just made it. And the greatest thing about that to me was his mom on draft night. Draft night is the night that they get picked and selected and let the world know which team is picking them. Um, his mom was flying that flag. His mom had the flag in her hand. She was very proud of that. And we all should be proud of the fact that she's doing it. Liberia is a very small country, 5 million people.
Yep.
Um, you were talking about how what could have been if Thomas had stayed in Liberia, the opportunities that he would have missed out on if
Mm-hmm.
he would have stayed in Liberia, right? Um, the fact that he was given the opportunity to pursue his dreams, kids with supreme talent, because you have to be extremely talented to make it to the NBA. He's not the first one. There was another one a few years ago. Um, David Duke was another one from Rhode Island who made it to the NBA. Another Liberian kid. But to be on that level, it takes so much of so much. It takes so much of so much discipline, talent, tenacity, okay, willpower, grit, um, just sacrifices from the parents and the kid and want to. It takes so much. He's able to, and kids who make it to the league and professionally, they're able to do that because they were afforded the opportunity to do that. This is the reason why most of us are in this country. The ability to chase our dreams, and whose primary job is to make that happen first is the government, is the nation, the head of the nation. The issue, the environment has to be there where the parents can now help a kid who wants to work hard to get himself to that level. The fact that Thomas is can't do it, that means so many other kids can do out of that 5 million. You mentioned I'm a coach. Yes, that's what I am. That's what I do for a living. And I see so many talented kids. And the crazy thing is, I was talking to someone just yesterday, planning the Liberian community festivities is about to come out with the 26th. And we were just talking about flag football, how we're going to go about doing it. And I said to him, you know, some of the best athletes in Rhode Island are all Liberians. The best,
Wow. Really?
by far. If you
Oh,
look at the
wow.
track and field records, half the records, the sprinting, the fast events records are owned by Liberians, full blood Liberians. The only difference is they're here. They have an opportunity, they have coaching, they are given the opportunity to pursue it. And it just happened that we are extremely talented when it comes to athletics. Just imagine yourself, what could possibly be if we just allow our children an opportunity. This is something I live for. This is my passion. This is my dream. One day to have the opportunity to afford those kids an opportunity. Like I told you before, when I was working at Brown University, one thing that they do at Brown is that they recruit internationally. The
Yeah, you
first
told me
issue
that.
the first issue I ran into was how kids were not academically ready. I couldn't even recruit them. I can go to Ghana and get those kids. They had the TOEFL skills that they were looking for, scores that they were looking for Ivy League school, but not Liberia, none, zero.
Can you, Peter, please, can you just, the people say reverse, can you go back a little bit and tell us where academically ready was? If
Okay,
they were in sports. Yes.
yeah. So there are just tests that kids take. They're standardized tests, right? In America, there's the SATs, there's the ACT. They're just without giving acronyms. There are tests that you give kids in high school. You do it in middle school to
Hmm.
just see how much mastery have you had over the subjects that you've been taught, um, especially reading comprehension, math, writing, right? How well have you mastered those things? You do it in middle school, they do it in high school. For Ivy League school, they look to see very high level of mastery, right? How well, if we twist this math problem around, can the kid still figure it out? How well can he write? How much can he, if I give him this long passage, how much can he remember from that passage and critically think and put thoughts together, asking the question, the answers are right there, but how much can you put that together? It shows what we call college readiness, right? The more
Right.
you show mastery of that, the more college ready you are. The more to see that they can put stuff on your plate, ask you questions, and use high academic language, and you'll still be fine. Ivy League schools look for the very top of that. That's college readiness. One of the ways to determine that is these international tests. The TOEFL is one of them. So you take, and there's another test to take that's not coming to mind, but definitely the TOEFL. To look at that score to see if the kids have shown mastery, and it demonstrates how much of mastery they have, and they give you a score based on that. Well, even the brilliant kids in Liberia didn't score enough on that for them to be Ivy League ready. Okay, and that's an indictment on our education system that we didn't prepare our kids because these are brilliant kids. How do I know that? I've taught in high school in Virginia, which is the one of the top high school districts in the world, Northern Virginia, in the Arlington area. Um, I've taught in a couple of school districts here in Rhode Island, and in private schools. What I'm telling you is these kids in Liberia that I've talked to, there's a kid now we're trying to get now out of Liberia as we speak. These are brilliant kids. It's just how much did you prepare them? It's like anything else. How intentional were you in preparing our kids? So, not to just be long winded with this, but it's indictment on the adults in our country and the so called leaders for not preparing our kids. And that's my dream, hopefully, one day we're in a position to prepare our kids to compete in the world. But the separation is just preparation, and we're not doing a good enough job preparing our kids. But congratulations to Thomas. I've coached a number of kids who have gone pro in the NFL, um, and it's very exciting, but it's a very, very, very hard work to get them there. There's a lot that goes into it. So for that kid to make it was a very big deal.
Thank you so much, Peter. I'm bringing myself on. Thank you so much for that. That important. That said, I want to say, for those of you who have already tuned in, thank you so much for tuning in. I will appreciate if you share. Facebook blocked me yesterday, so I can share into, what do you call it, to group chat until July 7. They've been reporting my page back to back. So here we go. If you can watch us here, you can also watch us on second thought on the what do you call it, Scholar Sphere, which is something that is academia per se. So we're going to be talking to you about Tomorrow Starts Now, preparing for the future. All right, we're not gonna, as you know, when we talk, we bring in solution. We make recommendations. We're not just talking because we like to talk. So we make recommendation. We tell you how other people have done it, and this is what it's about. This is what research is about. This is where growing about. This is where growth is about. This is what nurturing is about. The reason that when you have children, you have nieces, you have nephew, okay, you who know that they're always a mentor. Okay. And parents are mental. That's why they say parenting. Your job is to nurture, to shape, and send out young adults into the world to make their own contribution, because then you become an escort to them, right? So we are here literally as educators, as advocates, as citizens, as the patriots of Liberia, to give our insight and leave that to the leadership to make the decision, and then leave it with the citizens to decide which way to go. Okay. This is why we're here. So today we're going to be talking about so many things that are happening in Liberia, and Peter. So we're going to talk about current event. In about another 30 minutes, we'll ask you if you can call in and give us your input as to what is happening in Liberia. Where do you stand? What do you think? What's your advice to the president, and what your advice to the people of Liberia? And especially to the young people, because the young people consist over 60% of the population. Okay. So Peter, here we go.
Yeah, goes back to again. It goes back to preparation. What we're doing intentionally. I do want to talk about what's going on with current events in the country as far as people being suspended and arrested for corruption, whereas a person like Moali is still out there working with the government when we know he grifted over $250,000, and what seems like selective justice, which is just absolute ridiculous. Or no one's talking about the group of people who said that the caterpillars that was going to be brought to Liberia was going to cost Liberia $90 million. Now it's up to, I think, $23 million.
Right.
Well, what's going on with that number? Whatever happened to the, I don't know, 78 million, 77 million that was
Mhm.
added? What was happening with those people? When they're going to be held accountable? Gloria Musu Scott, she's out of jail. And the reason was, well, she got convicted unfairly and there was not enough evidence to convict her. But that's not how the process works, right? Once you get convicted by a jury of your peers, for your case to be reheard by the Supreme Court, it has to have a constitutional issue. There was no constitutional issue. Saying that there was not enough evidence is not a constitutional issue. Uh, but then you put other people in jail and seemingly for corruption. Um, it just seems like selective justice and witch hunts. You put people in jail because you claim that they burn down the Capitol building, but you torture people. Well, that's extrajudicial. You don't get to torture people. That's violating the law. That's breaking the law. Um, that you killed the case. Just so many things is going on in our country that seems like selective justice. I want us to talk about when holding this government accountable. When are we going to talk about economically empowering our people. That's the first thing the nation should be focused on. How do you economically empower our people? How do you get our people to compete with the Lebanese and the Chinese when foreigners in our country? What's your plan to make sure that happens? What's our plan to stop capital flight, which is probably one of the biggest, besides the the industrial level extraction of our of our natural resources by foreigners that's depleting what we have, our rainforests, our gold, our diamonds, and setting our kids up to now have a future and us not to have a country in the future. How do you stop capital flight? All the money we remit back to the country that's not stolen by government officials, people spend it on people who will then take that money and send it back to their country because they control all the major industries in a country. So capital flight, how do you stop that? The world is moving to an AI world. When do you open your first STEM school? All the things that matters. What is your plan to generate revenue in a country? What's your revenue generation plan? We're going to need money for all this stuff. When are we going to focus on that? When we're going to talk about those things, the real things. When are you going to create private sector's environment to create private sector's jobs? But you want to distract people with suspending people. Suspending them how? How do we know they're not getting paid? Well, how is that helping the country? No one's saying that people should not be held criminally liable, but there are other major things that countries that left from poverty to prosperity did and have to do, right? Has to do. So the question is when we're going to start those things and what's your plan and how is it going to work for Liberia and which model are you following? Those are things that we need to be talking about so we can start debating it. I feel like this is all smoke and mirrors. It's all distraction from an old primitive con man you select as a president. And now we don't talk about real things. We talk about put in Mary brought in jail. I'm not saying she should embezzle money. Yeah, but okay, let's talk about the economy now. Let's talk about our women still dying. Someone just died in the street the other day because she didn't have her inhaler. They said you died from that, from
Oh,
asthma.
I saw that. Was that Liberia?
Yes, Liberia, right? From an asthma attack, you die from that. Like, what type of country are we having, and what are we proud of if that's the country you are? Countries remaining primitive because the people we're selecting are not visionaries. They don't have the acumen you need to lead a country. They don't have the vision. They don't have the knowledge, and we don't want to have a real conversation. We turn to ad hominems. We attack those who speak the truth as if to protect the people who they like. Those are things I want us to talk about tonight, yes, Andy. And I hope you're game for it.
I am. I am. Peter, you just talked about capital flight, right? I want you to break that down. There is an article I was reading by Terrence, a friend of mine, or a little brother of my father, who had moved to Liberia earlier on in I think the second phase of Ellen Johnson Sirleaf regime. And he tried to get into the media industry and not media per se, telecommunication. And apparently he had challenged some of the Lebanese people on the ground. And they told him he was not gonna make it. He thought it was a joke. So as he fought and fought, he started doing some research. He was a researcher. And that's why he wrote that what they call it, the colonization within. That is based on capital flight. I think I sent you that article before. That article is still online, where it states almost all of the money that is remitted to Liberia is divided between Lebanon, India, okay, and China. Now, that time China was not big, but it was mostly Lebanon. Okay. So as quickly as the US dollar landed, as quickly it left the country. Okay. So talk to us about where capital flight is.
Okay. So I'm not an economist, but this concept is very simple to understand.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Um, when money comes into a certain community or country or state, there are hands that has to touch it, right? So here's how you build an economy on just a layman's term. If people have money, they might buy food. If a lot of people buying food, the people who are selling food or servicing food, now they have money. So those people might go and buy, let's say, a laptop. If enough people buying laptops and those people are making money, they might go buy a car. If people selling cars are starting to make money, they might go buy a home, right? If they're making a lot of money, they might want to go to a hotel. They might want to go to Nearby County to go to a lodge and spend a week there. So those people make money. So what happens is they call those things bounces. How many times is the money going to bounce in the country, right? How many people from that region recycles that money based on goods and services from that nation? In the case of Liberia, here's what happens. So, for a good economy, you want that money to bounce between 8 to 12 times. That's great. Okay. If it's mediocre, between 6 to 9 times. It's kind of good. In Liberia, it's like a three bounce. When people get money, we send money to someone because they're sick. What happens is it goes right to the pharmacy because you get those pills. It goes right to India.
Mm-hmm.
One bounce, right? If
Mm-hmm.
someone has someone's going to school and you go buy a laptop, um, Indian, Chinese, one of those two people, it will bounce once. Probably a Liberian person who has a lower store, or chances are one bounce goes right to India, goes out. Don't forget, these foreigners are in our country to do business. They're there to make money. The money they make is not invested, reinvested back into Liberia. It goes back to their people who are home. Just like we are in America sending money to our people because we're making money, they're in Liberia because their government, their government has almost like this, almost like what am I like this organized crime ring where they have a head. That person is the one who is securing loans for them. You, when you come to Liberia, this is where you're going to live. This is where your store is going to be. So they have this whole thing planned. The same thing we don't have in their country. They have it planned in our country. So these people are providing services that Liberians need. When the money is made, it is sent back to their people. Some of that money goes to the government because the government is the one who's securing the loans for them to open the stores in the first place. But then the money goes to their family. So when you send $800 million back to Liberia, 780 million leaves the country and leaves the country after one bounce. Right? It's not like they're buying things that it's being produced in Liberia. So those people are now going to do things in Liberia, and the money is going to go to another vendor who's a Liberian. No, 1 to 2 bounces, it gets out the community. It gets out of the country. So capital flight is how quickly the money that you send home leaves Liberia. That's a major problem. You could send $1 trillion back home. The $1 trillion, 95, 98% of it is going to leave the country quickly. So you're not helping Liberia economy because you say you are because our people are surviving, but you're literally helping Lebanon. You're helping India. You're helping China. That's what you're doing. You're muted. You're muted. You're muted.
Thank you so much, Peter, for that common, I would call it common English explanation. So the essence here to get to our people, to the everyday person, to get to majority of the population. Thank you. Now let's go to today's arrest and the other people going back to court. I'm gonna go back really briefly. If all of you remember, and I'm not gonna play in a video today, you remember that the president has said during his inauguration there will be no blue Liberia. That attribute that to CDC. There will be no green, and there will be no red. It's gonna be Liberia first, right? I don't see that with the composition of the leadership per se, but it is neither here nor there. My question now is, during the inauguration, before the inauguration, there were some, I think, with a Japanese or Chinese group that donated all 6 or 8 cars. I think 3 to the VP and out of 5 to the president. Based on our constitution, they're not supposed to take gift that is more than $200. They're not. That would be considered illegal. That would be considered bribery. The reason being is the president, the vice president, or those 3 branches, the executive, the legislature, and the judges, they're in a position of power. They're in a position to influence. They're in a position to impact. So they do not want, the crafter of the Constitution or the founding fathers did not want those people's decision to be influenced by bribery. So they make sure to put those clauses in the Constitution. Okay. We, the Liberian people, were clapping. Power sweet. Power sweet. I saw a lot of young people, and you don't blame them. People only know what they know. Look at the people donated so and so amount of cars. I mean, the internet was flooded with that. And they took it. Jeremiah Kuhn was a lawmaker. He was a representative. He was a senator. Pape Boaka was the head of the Senate. He served in from the before the 80s. In fact, in those government, may his soul rest in peace. Today, I think this weekend, he will be laid to rest, but that's a story for another day that I will speak to in my own time. Again, like I told people when Prince Johnson died and everybody was going back and forth, I said to the Liberian people, those who want to curse, those who want to scream, it is their right. Those who want to praise, it is their right. Because like me, if somebody told me my power was bad, that's what you saw. That's not what I saw. Okay. I will empathize with you, but that's my dad. Okay. I'm just being honest, but I'm going to move over to say that. So here we go. Here we are, here and now, Peter. What are your thoughts on what is happening in Liberia in respect to, does it look like we're moving anywhere? Does it look like we have plans? Let me say to you in short, the first Muslim American born in Uganda, middle name after Kwame Nkrumah, won an election two days ago, okay, or yesterday, the night before midnight, or yesterday morning, in the city of New York. The city of New York is known as the home of the Jewish people, where all the money people live, where the Warren Buffett, where Bernie Sanders, these are all multi-billionaire, okay? Long money, old money. This is where the Long Island, not in within the Long Island, but this is where the people, most of the people who came from Italy, the people who came from the war, this is where they settled. This is where the money is. These are the people who make president around the world. These are the people who own De Beers, who suck all our diamonds out of the sand and give us pennies, okay? A young man, 33 years old, were elected, and people are asking, how did that happen? These guys, the other guys were and supported by the Clinton of the world, okay? Big people with big money. But it took the voice of the people because they wanted a new direction. He said we should take care of one another. He believed that you first have to take, when you take care of the people will take care of you. Peter, what's your thought? Where are we going? And sorry, Peter, really quickly. My point was, he came with a plan. He explained his plan, what he intended to do. In fact, during the debate, they asked him, is he going to go to Israel? Combo said, yes, he will go. The other, I think there were 8 persons participating. All of them said they would go. That's the first place they're going to make a trip. He said no. He said, I'm not going to go to Israel. I'm going to stay here in New York. I represent the people of New York. This is my plan. I want New York to be a city that take care of one another. I want New York to be where our power, okay, that the president power does not supersede, but it respects the president power because they're state right. That the president respect the state, and we will stand and stand up for our people. We'll fight with our people. I want to make sure those who make money, okay, also pay their taxes and not get all the taxes them, and the little people pay, and our people cannot afford to live. So he outlined how you're going to create jobs, how you're going to have school is going to be free, how K1 through 12, how they're going to have free meal for the poor, how they're going to have a grocery store in certain area where people who cannot afford to eat. He said we cannot have hundreds and hundreds of billionaires and millionaires in New York, and some people are living on the sidewalk, can't afford to eat. Okay, there go Emmerich. So he outlined his plan. He spoke to it. He made videos of it. He went to community to community. He spoke on it. So he has a plan that people bought into. What do you think we're headed, Peter? Sorry. Hey, Emmerich.
Hi.
Hi, hold on 1 second. Peter, we're coming. Peter, you're muted.
Yeah.
Hold on.
So
After Peter,
yeah.
you're going to come. Yes. Go ahead,
So
Peter.
yeah. Hi. I think we're headed nowhere. When you pick a primitive man who doesn't understand nation building, never study it, never put any kind of energy into it to learn it, you have what you have. So when you ask me where we're headed, where we're going to head without a game plan. We don't have a roadmap. We don't have a destination. We are hoping and praying that something happens. Right? You have a man who cannot has never articulated an economic plan. He's never articulated a educational plan. He used an acronym, arrest. Now he's adding another R to it because he's arresting people. Well, like
I'm going to put
this is
myself
a
on mute so I can stop laughing. It's not right.
yeah, this is a joke though. Yeah, we have a joker for a president, and that we allowed to hide behind the shield of his age. We literally allow him to use his, and we elect him because we say he has been there. Been there doing what? How has his being there or the people he's been with worked for our country, the improvement of our country? We're not heading anywhere. The people that you just mentioned, the person that you just mentioned, those people had a plan that you could articulate. The important part of that plan was when you have a plan that you put out there, we get to debate the plan because it's written down. We can say this is going to work or this is not going to work, right? When you're just winging it, anything goes. It's like this is how you play, volleyball without a net. Nothing's going to ever get stopped. That's a good shot. That's another good shot. How do we know what went under, went in the net, what went over the net? And this is what we're doing, right? We have a man that doesn't know anything, and it's not polite to point it out that he doesn't understand. Here's why I'm able to make that assertion. When someone knows something, a man knows something he's passionate about, you need to have passion to lead the country out of poverty. He would not stop talking about it. That person would talk about that ad nauseum. That means without stop if he had a game plan. Part of the reason why I supported companies like I did. This man went on shows and said, ask me any questions. He went on social media and exposed himself to some of the biggest idiots in the world with a Facebook platform. Don't even know what question to ask. And he was taking questions humbly, taking this CEO of a major company in the world was taking questions from anybody at all. And that told me that he has nothing to hide. Not only that, I was able to ask him questions. Other people were able to ask him questions about their whys and their whens and the hows. You can't do that with this other thing that you have. I don't care. I'm not polite about it because he's a con man and he's hurting people. He was asked questions, what makes you different than other people? And all he did was regurgitate it old grievances that our people have. He couldn't tell you how bag of rice used to be $15 and now it's $20. Like, okay, you can't say what caused inflation, how are you going to reduce inflation? What's your vision? What's your inflation reducing vision? He doesn't have any of those things, right? The emolument clause. That's a clause that says you can't take a lot of money, I think over $100 or whatever. They made it like that because they don't want the government or the president beholden to anyone. Here's an old man that was willing to sell the Putu Mountain so he can to foreigners if they were going to finance his campaign. He has no integrity, and we elected that man because he's old and he was there. Now we see what he's doing. He doesn't have an economic plan. So we're not going anywhere. He doesn't have plans for anything. Talk to him about STEM schools. What informs it? He claims he went to school in the 19 whatever, okay, when they still had horses um, running around. He was in school. This man is not intellectually curious. Everything he does is a smoke and mirror. It's all a scam, and people are literally trying to trip over themselves, justifying. Oh, the president did this. He arrested us. The man's got morale. He putting people in jail. Put other. How about you create an economy first? How about we talk about livable wages? Has he articulated to you what are livable wages before he can even demand it of companies to hold our people accountable to help our people? Has he talked about that? Okay. He thinks every job should be in the government. He doesn't even understand how to create the environment for private sector's jobs. So no, we're not going anyplace. This man has not talked about how we're going to generate money. Money. Where's the money coming from to do anything? He's now going to spend some more money and burden and saddle our children with another $20 million loan to get equipment that's going to rot. What happened to the buses that you got, sir? What's happened to that? We had a guy on the show who told us that you can't have those buses in Liberia because we don't have the maintenance facilities for them. Okay, so this guy just such a con man. He just knows how to use rhetoric, words that he know people want to hear, and there are people who are clapping and supporting him and allowing and providing a shield for this man. So no, yes, Cindy, we're not. I don't believe we're headed anywhere because we don't have the right leader.
Okay. Emmerich?
Yeah, yes, indeed.
Yes. How are you? Today we're talking about Tomorrow Starts Now. Do we have a flight plan as to where we are going? Do we have a schematics? I know a lot of stuff happening. So we wanted to talk about current event. They're going to jail, they're grabbing people, the Pearl Brown Bull, the different lawyers, okay? And you were here. Peter said he didn't mind people going to jail. Okay, I don't mind people going to jail. I think plenty of people need to go to jail, including BRCA own officials. Okay, but we also want to know while you're punishing, you also have to be building. What do we have to build with? Do we have a flight plan with this president? That's what we're talking about. Emery, go ahead.
Yeah, yes, indeed. Thank you. We this is the reason why we all advocate, right? To make sure that things are done the right way. Uh, if you look at what's happening, I think it is it's well intended, but the implementation, the approaches, there's so much flaws within the approach. It is discretionary. When I mean discretionary, we have witnessed over time people being suspended, right? We have witnessed over time. Boyka just took over. President Boyka just took over. Uh, his first agenda was to release Gloria Musso Scott, right? So we did not see or we haven't heard of anything, any justice for the young lady who got killed in that issue, that problem. We have not heard anything. We have not heard any pursuit of justice for her. So where do we go? Are we seeing a system where it's certain group of people are being favored? Are we seeing a system where it's not effectively executed based on favoritism? Are we seeing a system where everyone has the same rights? That's not what we are seeing. And people think that when we speak against what's happening, it simply means that we are in the way or we just want to criticize because we want to criticize. No, we're saying justice is okay. We're saying if you need to arrest people, the same process you accord to the group that you suspend. And this is the whole thing, right? You see, people try to put different narrative or different spins on these issues. We see it. We see some of the same people that advocated with us. We see them today. Nepotistic behavior. We see it. But I think, we'll start to call them out. We're not afraid to call names. We will start to call them out. All right. We'll start to be specific and we'll start to lay the facts and give instances where we think nepotism is being practiced or tribalism is being practiced. Look, whether people like it or not, like Peter just said, once you go into anything in life with our plan, right, you find yourself just all over the place. That's exactly what's happening. From the asset recovery, the next thing we don't hear anything about it. You see a passive leader, that's what happens to a passive leader. When you're a passive leader, no direction, no sense of direction. You just all over the place. You don't accomplish anything because you don't have a system in place to be able to track productivity, to be able to hold people accountable. You just sit and you wait and base your judgment on knee-jerk reaction. That's all you do. When people make noise on this, you leave it, you go to the other thing. And what we're seeing right now is so sad. We talk about rules, right? We don't talk about it anymore. We talk about arresting. They say you can chew gum and walk at the same time. It's true, though. If you do have a plan, yes, you can chew gum and walk at the same time if you have a plan. It's the government's responsibility to educate the citizens as to their plans, right? The different stages. When you do project management, you see the different stages, the milestones. So you see from one stage to the other. Let the people know your intention. You have to be intentional about uh, the progress of the country, the governance of the country. You have to be intentional. You have to educate your people. What we see in Liberia tomorrow, today, on the news, arresting a mayor, bro. We're not saying do not arrest. We're not saying do not arrest. But if you suspended Arthur Massacre based on uh, him being corrupt, allegation of him being corrupt, it's the same allegation of because if the audit says Mirabro took back a rice or she cannot account for it, it's the same allegation. It hasn't gone to court, right? And you can say LSCC. Anyone can challenge LSCC, right? The same thing you said about Arthur, and you suspended him. For me, if you want to be balanced, you want to do it across the board. If you want to arrest people, arrest the people that close to you, that supported you. Arrest them, people that support you. When you catch them in it, arrest them. You give them the same process that given to people that don't support you. That's fairness in your system. What brought about the civil war in our country? The unfairness, unfair treatment. And we can't go back to that, right? The unfair treatment, the nepotistic behavior, tribalism, those things were reasons why Toba got killed. And with the same thing, reasons why Duo got killed. So we cannot compound these things and put a blind eye to it only because we support a government that is in uh, there right now. And that's all I see most of us that advocated in the past that we wanted. We had this whole loud this outcry about the way former president we are ran the country, right? We went to the United Nations, we went to Congress, we went to those different places to protest. And the same group of people that stood with us and protested are the same group of people today. So was it about the wrongful direction of the country, or was it about having an opportunity at the table? I get confused when I'm dealing with Liberians. That's why I'm very, very careful nowadays to not just be in the company of everyone, because some of us, we're not genuine, right, in our advocacy. And that's the reason now I'm being very, very, because from the get-go, we did not know the personalities of each and every one. But as time went by, we are now seeing how we behave, Liberians behave. We want to criticize when we don't have the opportunity, when we all start looking in. That's when we criticize. But when we are in, the same things we criticize, we defend those things because we don't have the balls, excuse my French, to stand up for what's right. That's all I see in Liberia. It's right. Let me rephrase it. It's right that you arrest people where the evidence going to lead you. You arrest people. But if you want to do that, you have to do it across the board. You don't give special preferences to certain people. Gloria Musu Scott, and under the name that, oh, she went through court, the court system, she challenged it, and then no, we know the system in Liberia, how the judiciary system is being compromised or tampered with, and it got political influences. We know these things. But was the same people on the same bench that Gloria Musu Scott, the same judiciary system that when she found guilty, right? What happened? We changed the presidency, then she's not guilty. So you see what's happening to our country. So you see, thank you. I will turn it over to you as we, discuss the issue.
Thank you so much, and Emma, for your voice. Guys, we're just having a conversation. We would like for you to add your voice if you want to. Just write a note and let us know that you want to be a part, and then we will, even if you want to come on, we'll bring you on. Now, thank you, Emmerich. And that's, I think that's the first thing that Peter said after his articulation about sports and talent and discipline and opportunities. Um, Gloria Musso Scott. Okay. Nobody came up to say that I lied. She didn't do it. Or there new evidence. So we're going back to the Supreme Court to re-examine the new evidence that were produced. So everything changed when the leaderships change. Would that be justice? And then let's go back. The president is accepted bribe the moment he was elected. The inauguration, we're still yet to get the audit report where there were accusations in real time. Okay. We saw Mo Ali duck a boho, and he said he literally ducked a story as high as almost the Burj Khalifa.
750,000 feet.
Thank you, Peter. To build to put a water tank drum on top. It's not a reservoir. It's not like a city reservoir. It's not like a big old iron that supplies the whole of Monrovia for 250,000. Okay. But what bothers me the most is, what is the plan for our children? Here we go. I'm going to show you something really quickly, Peter. What is the plan for education? No nation I know in modern world, let's say from the 70s, or let's start from the 60s till now, I changed its nation fate without education. No nation. Peter, I need you back. No nation has done so. Okay, absolutely not. What is the goal? Is it the goal for the way it has been for the leaders to build? And I see, except for the women who will sell their market to send their children to places they, most of them forced to join Catholic school, Catholic church, so that children can get discount to get education. Okay, but like the who among who's, the Konola, the CWA, the what the other one name, MC, the St. Patrick's, the Convent. Okay, those were names, and later on the SDA came. So majority of the schools in Liberia, especially in rural area, they were built by missionaries, different denomination of Christian or Muslim per se. Okay, and the government school, at some point, it was a little more competitive. You can speak about Totman High, you can speak about Seneca de Sancho High, and all of that. But this is a nation of 5 million people. What is the plan, Mr. President? That's all I want to know. Put it out. Don't give me a buggy paper when they say George Lobo come with a hell of a hair, yeah, that you beat says George Lobo, and say, go read the arrest manual. No, that's not my job to read it. Your job is for the president to articulate it. We heard Obama when he said, we will renew America, we will renew hope. He outlined what they were going to do, how they were going to do it. Joe Biden King, old man in his 70s, he outlined, okay, all right, build it back better. He outlined it. Even Trump, that I don't agree with, he told the people what he was going to do, how he going to do it, whether they believe you or not, and now they're coming back. He said it, and he's doing that. We just saw a young man in New York who outlined what this is about the people. Tell us, you, in your own word, not arrest. It's not a schematics. It's an acronym. It don't work. It's like YMK. Nobody know what YMK or YMMK. It's my name. It stands for Yasini Martin Kekpeye. Or else you wouldn't know. So explain to us how you're going to do this, where you're going to do it, when you're going to do it. Okay, we need to know the when, the where, the how, and why are you doing that? In each, why does this one come first? If agriculture is the first thing on your stuff, okay, when does agriculture start? How do you intend to implement it? What part of the nation, which region, okay, has the best possible soil that we can plant and have the population or the workmanship that can make this implement this? Talk to us about it. Now, if education is part of your arrest, okay, why education? Why do you think it's important? Where are you going to start from? Is the priority is going to be K1 through 3 to 12, or K1 through 5, or K1 through 8? Okay, then talk to us about it. Why is that? Is that because of foundational education? Okay, explain that to us. Okay, we need to know that. Let's have this conversation. Mr. President, have a town hall, open it. I remember Obama going to a town hall where the kids started booing, and the security were going to go for the kids. He said, no, you leave them alone. Then as they begin to, he said, I need you to stop and listen. I agree with y'all. I just don't agree with your approach. Here is what I need you to do. I need you to listen. I am the president of the United States. I am not absolute. There is a confines within the Constitution that have to work. And the Constitution says we the people. I am the president, the Republican lead in the Congress, they lead in this. For me to implement those plans that we agree on while you voted for me, I need to have the vote. I don't have the vote, so I can't veto it. Now, I will stop you, Peter. What's the plan?
I think I said it. There's no plan. There never was a plan. We selected the wrong person because the process in which we use to select leaders, the modalities that we use to select leaders is flawed. It takes great humility to do what Obama did or any leader did. the fact that you get to explain yourself, you have to be humble. You have to be very, very confident um, to be able to open yourself up to scrutiny in the world, to ask you questions and go to town halls. You mentioned a person like George Lobo. I don't blame George Lobo. I blame the people who I blame a person like myself. And I don't think George Lobo is a very intelligent person. And he's probably around my age. And I there's a saying that says when the competent isn't available, the available becomes competent. So they step in and fill that vacuum. So when the people who live in Arizona with George Lobo, the window clerk at a bank at some credit union, allow him to continue to rise and not ask him questions, yes, he's gonna give you a cheeky answer. You know why? Because he can. That's what unprofessional people do. When someone says, "How are you gonna do this?" and he said, "Go read the arrest thing," of course he's evading the question. He invades because he doesn't have information. I'm saying he had to have started that from a very low age stage of this process. There are a lot of people who are around who did not call him on that. There are a lot of people who did not call Joseph Boyka on his con man game because a lot of them are afraid of what people might say about them. George Lobo is going to say to a person like me, "Oh, I'm not going to debate you because you cuss." And he really didn't hear me cuss. The type of cuss I have for George Lobo, his ear would spin. But
He
I'm
had flu.
saying he's allowed to make excuses, Yacendi, and do con man games. Oh, go read this. Go do. I'm not. You don't get to tell me to do a homework, George Lobo. Go get yourself a first degree before you tell me to go do homework. And we talk about Mo Ali. Mo Ali is a grifter. You can't 750 feet you dug, and that man gets to still remain a government and protect. And you talking about you're arresting people. No one's gonna respect you, Joseph Boyka. But you're a con man, so you're in a crime syndicate, and he's part of the organization, right? Mo Ali needs to steal because the type of life he wants to live. Mo Ali should be selling, but say you need to be in red light at his greatest ambition. That's what he needs to be doing. He would never get the money that he wants with the talent that he has. So these people are fighting for their lives, and we let them get away with it,
We did.
right? We are afraid to offend people, and we're afraid to. Oh, they're gonna call me gay. They're gonna call me like they made a person like Mr. Cummings says, "Have your wife stay with me. Let's see if I'm gay." Like you're
Then they say,
bringing
then
that.
they say, then they say he's rude and unprofessional.
Well, I'm rooting on professional, but that's besides the point. You expect to treat people who are absolutely like gross, like people who are so vile. You can't have a real conversation with them, right? And we don't have enough people to push back on those people, and so they continue to rise, and that's why we have what we have. Yeah, Sandy, we don't have a plan. We these people are there to steal money, and like Emmerich was talking about, this is all smoke and mirrors. This is all selective justice. Gloria Musu Scott shouldn't be out of jail. And it's okay if you take her out of jail, but then you can't hold nobody else accountable, sir. You can't. This is how war starts. This is what Emmerich was articulating. You can't say, well, this person's on my team, is in my family, is in my tribe, so therefore they get different treatment. No, that's how war starts across the board. That's what the Enlightenment. That's why they have a bunch of. That's why there are a whole bunch of religious wars because there is no objective standard. But with the Constitution, there is an objective standard that we all must follow. That's why the Illumina. I forget the name of the term. It will come back to me in a second. Emolument. clause says you can't bestow kingship on no one. You can't get gifts from anyone. The reason why it's doing that is because it's now going to create a semblance of impropriety and beholdenness to somebody who you can't. So now there's no objective fairness because you owe someone something or you just made them king. And we don't believe in kingship because we're a democracy. So there are laws that have to be followed that people thought deep and hard about so that we don't run into problems. But when people are not professionals and they don't understand the importance of the rule of law, you have what we have now. When we're going to talk about schools, what nation was built without them investing? I went over it last week. Botswana, you name it, South Korea, Singapore, all these countries, Chile, Argentina, all these people put so much money, Rwanda, into education, 30% of their budget, because they understood that investing in their children and the future of the country is what raised the country up. It's like, it's not that we don't want to drink the water, but we have to water the plants, because when we water the plants, that's what we're going to eat during the harvest. So yes, we need to put a lot of water on this plant. We're not watering the plant. We're taking the water and selling it, and we're drinking it, and we're taking the other water and washing our cars when the water needs to go to the plant. We don't have a country and a government with a plan. And we all know that. And we refuse to ask real questions. And we try to be too polite. And we want to bow our heads as if we are slaves. This is the problem we have, Yasendi. Okay? I've yet to hear people say, okay, what's the job creation plan? What informs that plan? What
Yeah.
makes you think that plan is going to work in Liberia? Where has it worked before? Who has asked questions like that? If a reporter
Yeah.
in Liberia did that, they would just bar him. He would never get to ask, or they would cut him off. Joseph Boyka gets to take private jets around the country, and now people are justifying to remain silent about a poor country wasting all that resources on this main time, but he had to go to a meeting. What meeting, sir? What meeting? How's that meeting helping Liberia? Name one time it's ever helped. No one wants to hear from you, Joseph Boyka. Nobody. If you didn't fly our flag and say, I'm the person that Liberia represented, you're just an old man that needs to be in a hammock in Lofa County. You shouldn't. You don't have anything to add to the country, and too many people are afraid to say that. Okay, arresting people is smoking mirrors. We don't care. Suspending people doesn't matter. I would care less if you suspend them or not. Let the people worry about stuff like they worry about it. What I do want to hear about is, what's your job creation plan? What do you plan out? How do you plan on generating money to build schools and hospitals? Okay, now we're gonna spend some more money on buying yellow machines to grit roads. Okay, after the roads are great, let's say we have the best highway. We have the what's the highways in Germany called, the Autobahn? Say we have the Autobahn in Liberia. How is that going to make us more money? Name one way so we can bring food from the interior quicker to the city. So now it's going to cause inflation because now it's way too much banana in the markets. Think about that. We're not taking the money and investing in money making things. We're just doing feel good political sound bites. We're going to build roads, and yeah, we know the roads are bad. But what's the first thing? What can we do now without spending? We can spend money on that will generate more money, bring money into the country. Do we need to establish an export economy, or is our local economy good enough? We know it's not. So I'm saying all these talking heads and all these so-called people, it's not. I'm not a disrespectful person, but when it comes to my children's lives and the lives of people I love, I'm going to tell you the truth. And these people don't ask those questions. All they want to do is talk about Liberia political gossip that doesn't move the needle to helping the people. This person did this, and there are people who supported Joseph Boyka now say, "Where are we headed?" What do you mean, where are we headed? Why you support him in the first place? What made you think he was going to do anything? Oh, he had experience. Experience doing what? Experience doing what? And It just tells me your level of intelligence when you thought this man who demonstrated nothing about nation building was going to be miraculously able to do it. So yeah, yes, Cindy, we're not heading anywhere fast, and we need to continue to call them out about it, like Emmerich said.
Emmerich,
Yes, I'm right. Yes, indeed.
yeah, what you
Yeah,
thought?
yeah. You know, one of the things I wouldn't do is to say because the past leadership did not carry out certain duties, so I will put a blind eye to what's going on. And I see a lot of people use that justification not to call people out because they have their friends and families and so in this government. I am not going to do it. I am not going to sit and say because the CDC led government did not audit, so it's right that that boycott be able to go unchecked. Okay, I am not going to say that because uh, CDC was not able to utilize the judiciary system fully, so there's no need to talk about it now. That's not my mindset. I'm very, very consistent. I'm not perfect, but I'm just consistent in what I do and what I say.
Right, right,
Okay. So if I'm going to hold CDC, if I held CDC accountable, I don't see any reason why I can't hold this UP led government accountable. And
right,
I'm not going to use any justification to say, oh, since CDC did not do it, so if UP go after them in a wrongful way, so I must put a blind eye to it. That's just not my thought process. Look, people think that because we are not seated at the table, that's why we are. They say we better people, and so no. But if you check anyone, any platform, the most consistent group of people, you will know. You see, when this thing was happening with Fatiga and AB Kroma. My
yep,
position, I did not have to go and think about it to see where the opinions of people are going, what direction before I take a stand. I based it on my judgment with respect to the law and took a position, right, that was kind of unconventional to the way our people think. People think that because I have an issue with Fatiga, so I must uh, support AB. I supported AB with the litigation, right? The defamation of character lawsuit. That's what he should do. But they point to use the laws right now or to prove a point, right? To me, I'm totally against it. I am totally against it. You know, it's not about the law anymore, right? It's about trying to prove a point to know who owns Liberia. And this is where I differ with him, and I stand with Fadiga on that. It's it's finalized. All you need to do if you're going to push for settlement, the term of settlement, so it's the court's responsibility. He cannot demand or impose on the court to be able to exercise their duties. That's not his place, right? It's about flexing muscle. It's about trying to prove that he owns Liberia. And once you start to do that, it creates a situation in the country where people are not treated fairly. For me, fair treatment, I think it should be across the board for everyone. The lawsuit was good. That's okay. But he's stretching it too far because all he wants to see in this to see Fadiga go to jail. That's all he wants to prove a point. Hey, we should stop this. We should support what's right. And there where I'm at, right? When I see something is wrong, I speak up. So let's move forward. You look at the country today. People think that the former government that we criticized, you have to measure, you have to use them as your yardstick. No. To me, if you criticize them and say they were not good, you can say the bare minimum you do better than what they did. That makes you look good. Especially when you say you have the experience, right? You have decades of experience. I don't expect myself as a professional person to be compared to a rookie or an amateur, right?
No,
I cannot
no,
do it.
no, you
It
shouldn't.
simply means that I would never ever reach my full potential, right? In applying what I know or the skills that I have. And that's all I see. People think that you can con your way through once you do the bare minimum above what CDC did. So that makes it right. To me, it's wrong. To me, you lack integrity when you do that. To me, you move around and you think you can con your way through things. Once you start to con your way, you lack integrity. And that's the reason why we need to be a lot louder going forward and start to be factual in pinpointing the errors, the intentional errors of this government. And we're not going to sit and look back. I mean, put a blind eye to it. We're going to call them out. We're going to challenge them on debates to discuss the issue. Let them bring their facts. We bring our facts, and let the people be the judge. Thank you.
Thank you, Emric. So we're gonna go. Uh, Peter, is it your time or my turn?
I think it's you.
Okay, good. Um, we're gonna make another round, then we're gonna go ahead and finish up. Um, we started a little late. Thank you, Emric, for those words. I think Peter sir, we said we are not going anywhere. Emric talked about the justice system. I think Peter alluded to the justice system earlier. So did I. And he also spoke about consistency. How if you look around, you see those that have been consistent. Um, it speaks to because the people can sit back on you and I eating pena, you know, by the horse, right? We know our hustle, and that's the way it is. Now, in the light of the fatty guy and what's his name, AB, for me, my position have been the same. Why I know the attitude, Emery, Peter, myself know the attitude of the fatty guys. We also know what's just is just. I took a position earlier on. I said if they what they said they don't have documentation to those things, okay, then they needed to go to court. My particular reservation has been the cost of the defamation. Okay, what character would defame? How did he suffer? What contracts were in the pipeline that were canceled on him? How did they decide that he was worth 1.5 or 1.4 million dollar? Based on what? Has he made 101.5 million dollar in his lifetime? Did he have contracts? You see, and I'm gonna bring this in briefly. This was one of the reasons when a friend of mine who were name were defamed all over Facebook went to court. That was some of the question that they had to investigate. Okay, you still running your firm. Okay, you still get support. Okay, your wife or your husband is still with you. What are your losses? What's your pain? Now, have you gone to therapy? Have you have anxiety? How much were you going to lose? Were you going to lose time from work? You're still functional. All right. So all of these things. So they have to find a means to say we can settle, but we have to be able to base on, because America had many what do you call it, cases of defamation. Liberia is literally just walk into that because they hear we're carbon copy. We don't put things, we don't have layers per se or schematics or what we say plan, okay, and position. Now, for me, I don't, and this is me, okay. I don't think AB is someone of character. He has never been. Okay. AB was a neighbor to my family on the old road. We are all from Nima County, but that's not my argument. I don't care what country you come from in Liberia. Wrong is wrong, right is right. Okay. I also know, you and I know, 3 or 4 years ago, AB terrorized the whole community. Were trying to forcefully take Gwen land that been in her family. Apparently, he has sold it to somebody or told somebody he was going to take it because of his position, and carry people to harass and even collected her brother, put him in jail because they were in the position of power. So, like you rightfully say, he's trying to show power. He must prove his point. We listened to the video when people tried to mediate between he and the fatty guy. He said, "You effing so and so, I'm going to make sure you go to jail." All right. So I want to see, how do you, somebody who was a representation of a rebel group, how can that person have a character that they're trying to protect? That is my question. I'm not saying alleged. Okay, he was. All right. I have I have been briefed on documents, pictures, and all of that. Okay. So, like you say, the court has made a decision. That's the Liberian court system. Let the court work. Okay. I don't think several cases people need to go to jail. If not, Emmerich, I'm sure you will be in jail. I will be in jail because we all got credit cards, we got mortgages, and Peter, uh, some of all got student loan. Okay. I guess the whole America will be in jail. So make arrangement. If the man has a job, contact his employer. I think some cases will be 10%, 20%, some people maximum 25%, and let him pay the 25% maximum until he can pay it off. Or he can go and mediate, whatever they want to do. But I don't know the case that you need to go to sub beach to sleep. So that also means that the system does not work. There is no plan for making the system work. There's no plan to educate and elevate the country, because education in any nation, as I started to say, from the day I can remember, it has been what changed the word education. Knowledge is power. Peter.
Yeah. Again, the rule of law matters, right?
Mm-hmm.
Going back to what Emmerich said about these people bringing up who did what in the past or who didn't do what in the past. The reason they keep going back to what CDC did or didn't do is simply because they don't have anything. And when you keep having to mention what CDC did or didn't do, you already lost the argument. The only people who you're going to convince or listen to you is people who are not, people who are stupid. And Liberian people aren't dumb. So we're talking about now. CDC lost because a number of people thought they didn't do a good job. We already know what CDC did. So why are we mentioning CDC? Why are we talking about what they didn't do? You sound like an idiot when you do that. When you're talking to grown men and women with a life, you're wasting our time when you bring that up, and no one will have time to waste talking about nonsense. As far as the Fadika's case and what's going on with AB Kroma, um, I guess they didn't show up to court. And again, why didn't you show up to court? Maybe they felt like they could get away with it, or maybe they didn't think it was important enough. And are they wrong? But they didn't get to present their case. Can they appeal the decision? We could find out. I don't think someone should be going to jail because they didn't pay money on a case that was not adjudicated. It was summary judgment based on them not being there. So, and you want him to go to jail because AB Corona, you asked the question, Yacindy, was that man ever going to earn $1 million in his lifetime that he lost? What are we talking about here? The entire system is a joke. The reason we have the zinc houses we have, you don't need to look far. Just look at the type of people we select to make decisions. Take a drone on top of any city in Liberia, any neighborhood, and you will see what we are. And yes, Sandy, again, I'm going to put this back on the at our feet, because those of us who've traveled, who've seen better, we know better. We should be holding these people accountable. We cannot be afraid to speak truth, and they're going to be nasty about it in their rebuttal. They're not, again, morally, if he's not in Liberian government, how is he going to make money? He's selling boise. He is. He. I'm not saying the guy is dumb, but his ambition, his ambition does not match his talent for what he wants in life. He doesn't. He's not going to earn it outside of government.
Nope.
Same thing with the Costas of the world. But everyone's afraid of what? With the George Lobos of the world. These are
No, they're not even of the world. John Lobo of Liberia.
yes. I mean, just compete with other Liberians, and I just believe that we allow these people to just get away with anything because we're afraid to speak. So yeah, we need to do more speaking. We need to hold people accountable, and that's my take on it. And Joseph Boyka is not taking it anywhere because we knew he was going to take us anywhere because he doesn't have what it takes, and we didn't ask hard questions because we're afraid those people who protect him will say, "Why are you talking to an old man like that?" And oh, the man put in his go check your agenda, and we didn't press on that. We didn't push back. We didn't follow up. And so I blame us for allowing these people to rise to prominence.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Peter. Emmerich?
Yeah, Cindy, where
Yes.
in the world, right, on any major media outlet, someone who is not credentialed will go and discuss uh, academic, topics in any field. Nowhere in the world,
Nope.
nowhere they will allow you to speak because you have no authority.
Right.
You're not credentialed. You don't know it. They would never allow you. Only in Liberia, I see people that don't have the expertise can sit on, major platforms, major radio stations, and discuss these issues. And that's the reason why we are struggling as a country because everybody just knows everything.
The free
We don't
talk.
have people that specialize. We don't have people that specialize. We don't have control over those things. But right, if we have a system, like Peter always reference, a system, would not have people on different platforms, different radio stations to just talk on these subject matters. You're not a technocrat. You don't have the requisite experience, the education, but you want to sit and be able to educate the people. Why do you think our school system is messed up? It's the same reason. Why do you think our hospitals, why do you think we have a deplorable system in almost all aspects of our society? Because of the same thing. People don't have the expertise, but they are in the leadership roles in different places. Do you expect the country to move forward? No. Once you start to vet based on political support and you vet based on qualification on the merits, Liberia is going to change. Because the only way you can change that whole country, the system, when you just bring in the right people. And this is what they try to do to politicize it. What you call the right people? Ellie brought all the people from America. No, it did not mean that because they came from America, they were the right people. We have too many qualified Liberians all over the world, right? I I think I share a post with you. For instance, the so-called scientist, uh, Chris Dupayan, right? You made a major uh announcement for the public and international partners. Then you taking a job, you throwing a job at Jefferson Koji. I don't support Jefferson Koji. I like to be fair. And
Right.
on a post like that, something
Mm-hmm.
official, you tagging Jefferson Koji and referencing him on an important announcement. It took away from the announcement. He did not know. He thought it was funny because I saw supporters for UP, even in leadership role, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cheering him on. It was
Oh
sad.
yeah.
Cheering him on. It was sad, Peter. So I was one of the few people that went and actually countered that and said, look, for your
You did.
position,
I saw it. Mm-hmm.
yeah, and I called him out. You know why I did that? Because some of us we believe that we have to stand against bullying, right? I
Yep.
don't like it. When I see that you think you are in a place to bully other people, you're in leadership role, right? Even when Jefferson Koji was in leadership role, when he did that to some people, unjustly went after people, some of us stood and spoke against it.
We did.
So do
We
you want
did.
me to change my position
We
now?
did.
Yeah, do you want me to change my position now because Jefferson Koji did some of those things to some other people? So I say, oh, he deserves it. No, that's not how we are. People that are patriotic don't do that. They just stand up for the country, stand up for what's right, and go against what's wrong. So Jubaya, I saw him going back and forth. I said, first of all, if he had truly worked and based on merits, I don't think he would even throw a jab because when you're in that position, you're a lot bigger than trying to be petty, right?
Right.
You're a lot bigger than that. If you have substance and you want to move the country forward, you talk about MPOX. It's a serious thing. You can be talking about MPOX and having some notice to the public, and you throw a jab at Jefferson Koji. What's going to happen? International partners going to be like, is he serious? What is this message? We're seeing that he making an announcement about MPOX, and at the same time, he throwing a shot at someone who is not even in the government or someone who is not on his level. You can't do that. You can't be in the mud with Jefferson Koji. So when I called him out, he said it was my opinion. I said I expected that from you. Anyone who's been in leadership, who understands leadership, Peter, will see that and will come and say, thank you. I made a mistake. I own up to it. It was a mistake. People in leadership, that's what they do. And say I didn't see it that way. But the good thing you brought it to my attention,
Mm-hmm.
it trust me, I will reverse it and I will apologize because a post like that is taken away from the actual message. Mpox is something serious. You can't be throwing jab at people and you're making an announcement about Mpox. Then
Mm-hmm.
which one do we listen to? Do we pay attention to you taking a jab at Koji, or do we pay attention to the severity of the Mpox, the education of Mpox? So this is a man. Peter, like you say, people con their way through. Some of us will
Yep.
pay attention, right?
Say that again. Say that
They
loud.
con their way through.
And Emery.
And that will
Say
be
it.
fair. They con their
Mm-hmm.
way through. People don't know in America, the pretense, the deception. It's so easy to do those things because we don't live Peter. We far from each other, but you will believe you will take what I tell you. If I said, Peter, I'm a medical doctor, right? You will take it because you expect me to be ethical, right? You
Right.
expect me to have integrity, Peter. Even your job, when you go for an interview, people expect you to be ethical. They expect you to have integrity. They expect you to be truthful, to be forthcoming. If you tell whatsoever you tell them, and you can demonstrate it based on that, the likability factor, they hire you, right? So I'm leading to this. We've always heard
Speak.
scientists and scientists and scientists and scientists.
Speak your truth.
But for how long we've been hearing about scientists? We haven't heard about any major invention or something. We haven't. But at the same time, you see yourself looking for a job in Liberia all day and night. At the same time, you don't. At the same time, you don't tell people in Liberia. You didn't tell them that you never worked in this country for over 4 or 5 years.
I'm sorry, guys.
That's deception. That's lying.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, you're not upfront to tell people that you never had a job in this country for more than 3 4 years. When people start vetting, this is the responsibility is on the leadership to be able to vet properly, right? Because if you have gaps in your resume, unexplained gaps, it's a bad sign, Peter. People, they don't just hire. If you have explained, a gap, fine. People will say, okay, you were in school. Okay, the evidence there you were in school, or your mom was sick, or your dad was sick, or your parent was sick. You had to care for them for a year or two. These things happen. But if you have extended period of gaps in your resume, and you can't tell people where you worked, you can't tell people any publication or anything you've done, even as an independent person, then that leaves some of us to think that you are calm. Especially when I see you're a scientist who could be a millionaire in this country who could make more money to take back to your home and create jobs and create better healthcare system and do those things. But you're leashing on the country right now because you did not prepare yourself. You did nothing, absolutely nothing. So now a man who calls himself a scientist that stays so long in this in the Western world to go back home and be a leash on the system and fee off the system, I don't have respect for you because you should be going there to open top notch, research area, hospitals or research area where you can employ people. Those are the things that you should be doing, not to go and be a leash to the system. And when you look at the attitude, the level of arrogance in some of them, the reason why they do that because they build this wall, right? They don't want you to be able to research and find out about them. So they built this wall, this wall around them for you to not be able to find the truth. But the truth there, if you in America, you're a scientist, in Europe or whatsoever, you're a scientist, and you did not break through. The question that what were you doing? What did you do with your time? Why weren't you working for more than 3 4 5 years? Those are the sticky questions and issues that for me, I'm a critical thinker. Then I know that, okay, you're just part of the same group of people that just want an opportunity because you did not prepare yourself, because you lied that you're a scientist. You lie your way through. You got no invention, nothing. Every time you're going to release this, but we haven't heard of anything like that. How many people don't we know in this country that are scientists, right? When it comes to, I know too many people that BN Sana, they all work on, infectious diseases and so and they make so much money in this country that they go back home to help. In fact, he was on a major research project in Liberia and other parts of West Africa. We know the demand for these type of people, but because of the demand, and you cannot even find a job, there's something about you. There's something that's there that you don't want to be upfront to talk about. There's something, and we will find out. And the day we find out, trust me, it's gonna come out in the open.
Wow. Okay. So so it is me, right? Okay. So I'm gonna finish up. Emery, thank you, and check your inbox. We're gonna talk more about these cook up degrees from Russia, from Scandinavia, from these places that antiquated that we can verify um right now, but we'll get that. And when we decide that's something we're gonna do, because I remember when Martin Colley started, it was actually my husband and myself. But I think the platform and the nurturing that we did is selective. It's not holistic. I believe in a balanced approach and giving everybody an opportunity. Um, I'm not going to talk to about Dubenyan today. I have said that I was going to reach out to him because there are a lot of kids that he would work with who do not come from UP that literally has said he have been bullying them in the office, and some of them, he told some of them that they are qualified for the job, but you don't think they belong there because they don't have practical experience. And my thing is, if the young people are just graduating from college, they have the qualification, they need a protocol. That's why you are experienced. That's why they need to shadow. Okay. That's why they need to do a apprenticeship. That's why people do interim. They're there. Intern, I mean. You can't bully them because they don't belong to your political party, or they don't want to worship you. I'm not saying that's what's happening with him. That's the information I've got him. Okay. But it's something we'll talk about later. I'll talk to you in the back about it. And I want to reach out to him and get his side of the story. Bringing his own people in, but that's the nature of the beast. That's the way Liberia is, and that's not a Liberia I want my children to live in. I want a Liberia where it's based on meritocracy. Peter says something, and Enrique says something. We, the so-called halfway honest people, are disorganized, not united, egotistical, and we want to speak our truth. That is true, but we weren't ready to get all out there and get dirty. And certain people wanted to control the narratives, sitting in chat rooms, okay? But they want you to go out and make call stupid, make call prostitute, and say how big your private part is, or how little it is, how wide it is, or what color it was. And you get insulted, your children get insulted, your spouses get insulted, you get undermined, but then they want to sit in the chat room and tell you what to do. Okay, that's not the way it works. The generals usually lead in the time of war, especially in the time of change, where there have to be a movement. In Renaissance, the leaders of the Renaissance have to be the leaders of the forefront. They have to put everything on the line. You can't have me put everything on the line whilst you sit in the back and tell me what to do when you don't know what happened at the war front. That's not the way it works. It never worked. It will never work. You saw that young man who just won in New York, the first Muslim guy. He led the charge. He was the face. He was the voice. And the other voices were addition to that. He showed up at radio station. He showed up at train station. He showed up at bus station. He showed up at the hospital. He showed up at the marketplace. He showed up in the streets of New York. He showed up. He showed up and stood in front of the synagogue. He showed up in front of the churches. He showed up in front of the gay club, okay? Because that's New York. That is New York. So you want to lead a grassroots movement? You have to be the general that lead the charge. That was the problem. And Emmerich, what you say is so profound. It's like when I go to Liberia, I'm a professional woman. Okay? I've been teaching about maybe 8 years at most. All right? I come from different segment and sector of the play. I come from telecommunication, electronics, via up to business management, okay, into finance and accounting. I move on to teaching, okay, the 30 plus year of my life of working. But I come from high school, entrepreneurship. I was telling somebody this morning, as a young girl, when people laugh at me, we were in private school. On Sunday evening, I would be making shortbread, cookies, peppermint candy, hard candy to carry to school for the rest of the week to make money. My mom would tell you before the war came, I have money, okay, for my age, while my friends were getting Gorpa and Gorma and Gore everything and coming to school with their brand new clothes. My mom used to sew my uniform with her hands. It didn't go to tailor, with her hands. And I can probably say so, but it was made with love. So the point I'm making here is when we go to Liberia, I see Peter laying down on the bed in one of my children's room. The mattress were on the floor. When Peter gets back to America, he will clean in his house. He will get his car with air condition. and do what he does best. But when he goes to Liberia, he goes to his people, he goes to the young people, he goes to their level. And the goal of that is you meet them and you bring them up and you show them, you educate them, you empower them, you tell them you are here now. But when we all get there, all of these are what possible. Emra, go see you in Liberia with your towel on your shoulder, your singlet, walking up and down in your shorts with everybody else. I see that. I'm in the middle of the women hugging some of them. Come, I had a woman an old lady who told me, he said, my daughter, she started crying. She said, people come here, they don't want to touch us. Some of them say we smell, we so and so. I get the hygiene problem in Liberia. When you are hungry, you're not worried about what sweat wearing on you, especially when the whole country is hot, no air conditioning. People can barely find food to eat. Over 60% of the people live below the poverty line, looking for $2 to eat. That's the first law of nature, self-preservation. That also another hierarchy. People have to survive before everything else. So I'm saying this to bring this home to say, those who have experience, who are professional people, when they get to Liberia, they ain't got nothing to prove. They don't. If they get you a job tomorrow, Emmerich, I'm sure if you had a job to go work at finance at the minister, I'm sure the first thing you're going to do is not to fire everybody. The first thing you're going to do your own audit. You're going to do first human resource audit to see what talent you have, where you can work with, how you can help them if they have the foundation or the fundamental, how you're going to teach them to empower them. Okay, you will develop the human capital. Those who cannot function, I will just put there for certain. You will find reason to find a place because the also, and those who are teachable, you will teach them. I think that's our role. But to come and say, Peter protested in Rhode Island against Jefferson Koji. He ran away through the back. Okay? So the reason that Jefferson Koji is not there, that the people that were there are not there, because they didn't have plans like you. So why use them as a reference? I'm not big. I was big about we are, and we did what we needed to have done. But I'm not big about we are because we had no experience. He didn't claim one. All right? They put him there because they say they love him and he loved the country, which came out to not be true to some degree. But Bwaka bragged about having been in governments since the 70s and were the youngest in those government in 1983, the youngest minister. 83 till now, guys, that up from the 70s, that 50, almost 50 years, 50 some more years. And we still don't have a plan. So Liberia is in trouble. That is my final thought.
Yeah, you mean 73, right?
Go ahead, Peter. That's my final thought. So you guys go ahead and
No, I'm saying just to be accurate because people like to nitpick. Yeah, he's been in since 72 and have nothing to hang his hat on. Again, thanks for this conversation, yeah, Cindy. The only thing I want to leave with people is like you have to be bold. Speaking of grassroots, this is grassroots. Two people watching, one person watching. This is grassroots. You have to understand that if you're gonna be a general, you do have to lead. And there were people who were treating people who were professional as if we are going to be their foot soldiers. When I'm risking my career, my children's, the way I take care of them, everything I work for, because I'm literally swinging and fighting against very vile people. And you think you're going to sit in the chat room and just tell me, oh yeah, we're going to be professional, then you go do it. And that's why you got 1%, you'll keep getting. That number will keep going down for as long as you keep elevating people who don't get how leaders lead, real leaders lead. This is another example of it. People who are speaking and share your values, you don't come and support them. You don't even watch what they're saying.
Thank you.
You sit on the sideline. But anyway, yeah. So I think we should just speak truth to power.
Thank you, Peter. Emmerich, what's your final thought?
No, my final thought before I go to sleep, I think I'll bring awareness to the attention to Jubanya. I'm not going to call him. I'm not going to do it. If I do find out, like the way you found out that he's bullying people, I'm going to be bullying all day and night. I will not rest. I will not stop. So I will pick my fight with him, and it's going to lead to something. This is how I am, and you know me, right? I don't just go about that way. But if I see that he's been doing it for a little while. I've been watching. When you're in authority, when you reach that place, you cannot bully people because you are the authority. And this is something
Correct.
I don't support. So don't be surprised when you start seeing posts from me, and I'll be on almost all platforms and talking about your friend, your best friend. I'll be on him.
Why you gotta
Okay.
be like that?
All right. Good night, and thanks to everyone out there who been on this platform listening to us. I said thank you and good night to everyone.
And thank you so much, Peter. You got something else to say?
No, I was just saying good night, and we'll have this conversation another day.
Okay, good night, everyone. We see you next Thursday. Hopefully, I'm still trying to see. We're still working on that radio station. We were on a little bit, but it's late at that time. We're gonna work on how we can be back on the radio station. Okay, that where the conversation is, that where it needs to be. So that's where we're gonna be. That said, I'm gonna go ahead and play the little tip here. This is this young man right here again. I think I have another YouTube video here that I want to place. This is um, this Sabo young man. Yes, Thomas Sabo. I learned that his father was a football player. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and do this really quickly. SND. Okay. He. Yep. Okay. I'm not gonna play this. Guess it's not gonna work. All right. So if you're out there, please follow us on YouTube, join our YouTube, subscribe to it. It's free and support us. Okay. Support us. Let's build this community together. We had YouTube before, but hey, it was hacked, it was taken over, a shutdown, and we're just coming back on our other platform. I'm still not connected to Reimagine. I'm still trying to connect since it was taken down. I want to know what's going on with that. That's it. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I think my battery is low, so let me go ahead and go. Ooh, what is this? Need to have a full screen. Why am my screen doing that? Why my screen doing that? What is this? What the heck? Okay, not like that. All right, yes. Sorry, guys. Here we go. Oh, so everybody is on at this time. So, guys, hey, we got to split the audience. I know people will watch later. Have a good night, everyone. See the lady behind me here, right there. That's the painting you saw this morning.